and welcome to English 210. My name is Helen Driver, and I'm looking forward to learning with you this semester. Now, this course is called Introduction to Literature, and it's just what the course title says. We are introducing you to literature. We're going to go through some of the genres of literature, for example, plays, poetry, songs, short stories. The only thing we're leaving out is the novel, and I'm sure many of you are glad for that, so there are no novels to be read in this course. This week, I'm just going to go over some basics with the classroom. I'm also going to cover briefly some of the learning material and just show you where the reading assignments are and so on. So many of you are used to taking courses at APUS, but if not, some of the more important components that you have within the classroom are the announcements. I will have a week 1 announcement located in this section of the classroom. Make sure to read through it because it does give you a good idea of what my expectations are for this week, and every week I'll upload an announcement just like other courses. So read through them because that does give you a good idea of what the classroom expectations are for the week. Also, of course, and I'll go back to this, is the content location of the classroom. This is where you're going to find your readings and your lessons and so on. So it is an important location. Plus, this week you really need to go through the syllabus. You'll find this in the content location of the classroom as well. Oh, and a quick point. I can tell if you have or have not been reading the content just by looking at some statistics within the classroom. I do check those from time to time, so I will be able to tell if you have not been reading the lessons, so be forewarned. Also, of course, we will be discussing the lessons together as a class through the discussions location of the classroom. I want to click on that briefly and I'll go through it. Obviously, if you have any questions, go right here. But I also want you to know that you do not have necessarily a discussion for each week. So for example, let's go back here. You have the welcome discussion this week, and then you don't have a formal week 2 discussion. Instead, you're going to have what is known as the classroom project. I'll go through this later, but basically you'll be writing a short story together as a class. You'll only be responsible for your contributions to the short story, and that is all you'll be graded on. But in terms of a formal discussion for week 2, we do not have one. In terms of a formal discussion for week 4, we do not have one. When you have a major assignment due, I do not assign a major discussion. We will just have these little kind of simple, kind of creative classroom projects, which I hope you enjoy. But this week, you do have a discussion due, and it is a welcome discussion. So first of all, you're going to tell me some sort of interesting or funny or embarrassing event that occurred to you, but you're going to leave out the closing. And then we, as a class, will decide what the ending of that little event that you're sharing with us. Now, all of us will probably be wondering what really happened, so please, if you get a chance by the end of the week, let us know what happened, because I know many of us will be curious. Then you're going to take a quiz, not graded, absolutely not graded. It's just giving you the assigned short story that you need to discuss this week. And I'm going to show you where the short stories are located in a few moments. But just to get to the quizzes, just in case you haven't used this tool before, go to Course Tools, click on Quizzes, and from there you'll find the short story assignment quiz. Again, not graded. It's just giving you what short story you will be assigned to discuss this week. So let's go back to the discussions. Since it's the first week, you just need to do the typical discussion. You post your initial post and then you post 2 responses. And this, because it's the first week, will be due on Sunday at the end of the day. All right, because I know students have registration issues and so on. And so I give you some extra time this first week to complete your assignment. So now let's go to the content area of the classroom. That is where your main learning will occur. So I do actually want you to go through the content area of the classroom. So let's go to the course overview section. There are some important components to this lesson, but I want you to note that the syllabus is located here, and that's an important component that you need to go through just to get an idea of how things are graded and what assignments will be due for the class. Now let's go back to the course overview, course content. Note my late policy. Make sure to read through that. And also, let me go back there. I want you to understand the discussion guidelines and then also the welcome discussion, which I already gave to you. It's not a separate discussion. It's basically that introductory discussion that I discussed to you earlier, all right, where you have your short story and you have that interesting event or whatever. So let's go back to the content area of the classroom. So basically, I want you to make sure to read through the introduction, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that lesson. You'll see a course overview and the weekly objectives. I definitely want you to read through that. And then after that, you'll see your learning material. Now this week, you'll be assigned one of these short stories. I do want you to read all of the short stories this week. I know it seems like a lot, but I know it seems like a lot, but I do want you to get a basic idea of what these short stories are saying and be able to discuss the one short story that you're assigned this week. Now, there's some other non-fictional readings as well. Some of these are really short, so these all are very short. This one is longer, the Little Green Grammar Book. I'm not expecting you to memorize or read through this thoroughly. I just want you to pick up on components that you deem important to you grammatically. Then I also want you to go through the guide to writing, but I'm certainly not expecting you to read that entire thing either. I just want you to understand basically some of the components that we'll be going through throughout the course, just to give you a basic idea of fiction writing in general and short story writing in particular, because you will be assigned a short story essay next week. But don't get too scared. It is short. The essay amount that you'll be writing will be short. So let's go through the actual content. And note that basically this week, you're going to be discussing the elements of fiction. So you'll be discussing some of the important vocabulary in fiction, the point of view, tone, is it funny, is it serious, symbolism, basically items that mean something else, person or event could be a symbolic element of another thing. So for example, let's take Rip Van Winkle. Basically, you'll be reading that short story, but it's about a man who falls asleep for a long period of time. Some people feel like Rip Van Winkle, this person, symbolizes the United States. Some people think that the story, the event within the story, actually symbolizes the American Revolution. So that's what I mean by symbolism, just something that means something else. Style is just basically how the author wrote the work. For example, and we don't have Hemingway assigned in here, but his sentences are very short and clean cut to the point, whereas Irving, who wrote Rip Van Winkle, has a very descriptive style. Briefly, he did that because he wanted Europeans to get an idea of what America looked like, because he wrote the work post-revolution. Now, the theme, and you'll be able to see that here, but the theme is not a topic. The theme is the point about that topic. So, for example, you're going to be reading a work from Poe, The Cask of Amontillado, which is about a man enacting revenge on another man. Now, the theme is not revenge. The theme is what Poe is saying about revenge. And so that's when I say talk about the theme, that's what I want you to figure out. What is Poe saying about revenge in his short story? All right? So now Later on, you'll be focusing on the regular components of a short story. These seem to be rather obvious. And then I want you to basically get an idea of the Freytag pyramid, because this gives, most short stories follow this sort of, and if you think of a pyramid, the exposition is at the bottom of the pyramid, and then you have the rising action all the way to the climax, which is the component within the short story that's the heightened emotions, the most emotional component of the short story. Then the falling action is everything that comes after the climax, and then there's a resolution when everything gets resolved. So let's go back to Poe's story, because that's the one that most everyone likes to discuss, because it's one of the more interesting ones, I think. So the exposition would be why the main character wants to enact revenge on Fortunato. The rising action occurs in the catacombs, and everything that leads up to the climax, when Fortunato realizes he's not so fortunate, which you'll figure out what I mean by that when you read the story. The falling action is everything that occurs after the revenge is beginning to be enacted, and the resolution is what happens at the very end after the revenge has been completed. So I don't want to give too much away for that story. I'm sure many of you have heard it before, but just note that this one follows the Freytag pyramid to a T. And then I just want you to take a look at the conclusion, and basically that's all I have due this week. So if you do have any questions, feel free to post to the open forum, or you can send me a message. If you do send me a message, though, please let me know what class you're in, because oftentimes students don't tell me. I teach more than one course, so it is difficult for me to place you sometimes. Better yet, just send me an email. That way I know what class you're from, and I get it fairly quickly. But I just note that I do answer emails and messages often throughout the day, and I'm online usually from 9 to 5, and sometimes in the evenings as well. Okay? Well, if you have any questions or concerns, like I said, just let me know. I'm looking forward to learning with all of you this semester. I hope you enjoy the course. I know I'm going to have fun talking with the reading assignments with you online, and I'll see you soon or talk to you soon. Bye-bye.